Hello there. I'm going to share with you a few cybersecurity tips that you need to be aware of. First of all, if you look at our system, this is a Zamet system. It's a web-based system. That means that you access it over the internet. Now, the fact that your computer gets connected to the internet means that it can be exposed to several threats that are found online. Now, the different kinds of threats that you can face, most commonly, these are computer viruses. Okay, now viruses can be of different types. So you could have viruses that you can get through your flash disks if you're somebody who, shares data through flash disks. I wouldn't recommend that, especially in this day and age, you should be exchanging flash disks because people's computers can be compromised, and that means that you can end up losing a lot of your data if you get a flash disk that is infected or if you give your flash disk to somebody else. One of the safer ways to share data now is you could share through online drives, like on the cloud, let's say Google Drive or some other way, unless the files are too big that you need to really share them on hard disks. And in that case, you need to have an antivirus that you can scan any disk that you get from your colleagues. Now, another threat that you might face are known as yeah, um, phishing attacks. So you might have noticed that sometimes you get emails where people tell you, "Hey, look, I've got this relative who left me a lot of money," or "There's this thing that you need to, you need to click on this link." And sometimes these links appear very legitimate. Now, if you want to identify whether some email is actually genuine or not, you always need to look at the from, the sender, the email. So sometimes the title, the name of the sender might be a name that is familiar, but if you actually check the email address that has been used, you notice that it's something different. So you need to be aware of such types of emails. Such emails will provide a link, which when you click on, it will actually lead you to some website that will download some file or some virus to your computer, and then it will start maybe stealing your files or doing some other um, terrible activities on your computer. It can even lead to ransomware attacks, where your files can be encrypted, and then the only way you can decrypt them is if you pay some money, and sometimes you might not even be able to recover your files. Now, on my screen here, I'm showing you an image. One of the viruses, which is very subtle actually, is what is called the Trojan horse. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Trojan War, or at least have heard of Troy. When the Greeks were conquering the world, remember that according to the Bible, Greece was like the third empire, third world empire. From Babylon, you had Medo-Persia, and then came Greece. Now, there were two main parts really that were left for them to conquer. That was Macedonia as well as Troy. Now, the city of Troy was a very strongly fenced city, and they also had very strong warriors like Hector there. So when the Greeks went to attack the Trojans, so the people of Troy were called the Trojans. You might be interested in watching a movie called Troy, actually. I think it's available somewhere. So when they went to attack the city of Troy, they actually failed the first time. So what they did was the Greeks feigned defeat. They pretended as if they defeated. They made what is called a wooden horse, and they left it outside the city. So after some time, the Trojans came out and they discovered this horse, and they're saying, "Oh, look, these people have retreated, and as a sign of their surrender, they've actually given us a gift. They've made this horse for us." Some people suggested leaving that horse outside, but others said, "No, it's a gift. Let's just take it in. Let's just take it in." And they actually pulled that horse and took it inside their city, and then they closed their gates. What they didn't realize was that inside that horse were Greek soldiers that were actually hiding. So everybody was partying at night, and then what happens when people were drunk? Those soldiers came out, they killed the guards, opened the gates, and that's how the Greek army entered into the city of Troy, and they were able to bring down that city of Troy, and that's how Troy was defeated. So today we have viruses that act like that as well. They pretend to be something that is good, something that you actually need. It might appear to be a game, it might be some nice software program that tells you, "Hey, just download this file, it will do this." And sometimes people tell you, "Hey, look, this is a program that will clean your computer is infected," but actually that's a virus, right? So when you download these seemingly nice programs, or it could be free programs, they actually install viruses on your computer. So it might be like a music player. It might be, "Oh, this is a movie, it's a website for downloading free movies." You think you're downloading free movies, but actually in the background you're also downloading viruses, which could be stealing your information or infecting your computer. So you really have to be very careful with what kind of files you download to your computer, what kind of websites that you visit. Some websites, when you visit them, the moment you click on them, they actually download files to your computer that can be used to steal your information. So what you need to do, first of all, do not click on any suspicious links in emails that you get. You always have to check who is the sender. So you always have to check the email address of the person who's claiming to have sent you, especially if the message is something that seems suspicious. That way you're going to avoid phishing attacks. The other thing that you need to do is avoid just visiting illegal sites and clicking on any link and downloading stuff. Oh, this is free that, or let's get this cracked version of Microsoft Office. In fact, you should avoid such things, because if you're using cracked versions of stuff, you're a thief. In heaven, you're considered to be a thief. And don't be surprised when Jesus is going to say, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you." You might be thinking, "Oh, I'm a Christian," but you're actually stealing software. And then the other thing that you need to do is that using our system, you need to change your password. When you're given a default password, or if you shared your password with somebody else, you need to change that password. So let me show you here. When you've logged in to your system, I think I showed you this in one of the videos, we give you provision for you to change your password over there, right? So don't always use the default password that has been sent to you by the administrators of Glad Tidings. You have to change your password. That's one of the safest things to do. And if at some point you share a password with your colleagues, make sure that after some time you change that password, because the password should only be known by one person at least. Don't share accounts. This system allows multiple people to have admin roles or different roles. So you don't really need to share the same account with a lot of people. You need to have your own account with your own password. Right, so that was a few tips on cybersecurity awareness. I hope that you're going to work safely with our system. And it's always important to have a backup of your data. Now, if you do not have, let's say, an online account, let's say Google Drive or OneDrive, I would encourage you to actually have one. The reason for that is sometimes you could lose those flash disks. In fact, when you're doing backups, I would say it's a stupid decision, for lack of a better term. And please don't take offense at the word stupid, but um, I can use the word unwise decision. It's an unwise decision if, let's say, you back up your data on a flash disk, and then that flash disk is maybe in the same bag where you're carrying your laptop. That simply means that if somebody steals your laptop or they steal that bag, you've lost all your backups. So you cannot always be putting your backups in the same place where your computer is. That makes no sense at all, right? So if you want to do backups, the best way to do backups these days is to back up your data online. And I'll give you my own experience. In 2021, it so happened that some people helped themselves with my computers. I had two laptops. I had my tablet there. I had a certain hard drive. And as I was going back to Sweden then, just before I got to the airport, some people broke into our car because I stopped somewhere to pick up some documents, and I left everything in the car, and I just rushed and said, okay, let me just rush here. And that was at the university. I rushed and said, let me go and pick up some documents. By the time I reached the airport, I just found out that the bag that had all my clothes was stolen. The two bags that had my laptops and everything, all my documents were actually stolen. And I had to start from scratch. Now, can you imagine? Those laptops had this same information system, this Zamet system that I've been programming for so many years. Imagine if I'd never done any backups online. I would have lost this entire system, and it means that creating it would have had to start from scratch. But by God's grace, earlier in 2020, I'd started backing up my data on Google Drive. And that meant that now, even if somebody stole my laptop, or maybe something bad happened to my laptop, like somebody poured water, or I poured water there, or something happened to it, I can easily recover my data just by logging into my Google Drive. Now, Google Drive gives you free space of 15 GB. Okay, 15 GB is not that much, because in that 15 GB you're having your emails in there, whatever photos you might save in Google Drive and so forth. Now, if you're not somebody that is so keen to backing up data, of course the 15 GB might work. But what I do is that I actually pay money for me to have 2 terabytes of space Google Drive. That means I can back up my entire laptop, everything that is there. So even if I had to lose my laptop, it wouldn't take me a long time to recover my documents. So please find ways to back up your data. If you have a Microsoft account, they give you, I think, something like um, I don't know whether it's 1 GB or it's 1 TB, something like that of free space that comes with one. No, it should be something like 100 GB of free space. So you can do backups either on flash disks, but if you're using hard disks or flash disks, make sure that you keep those separately. Don't always move around with them or even giving them to people to, hey, here's this flash disk, because they're going to infect your backup. So back up your school documents, whatever it is that you're doing, your work documents, all these results that you're working with. Make sure that you have backup somewhere such that even if something happened, you can always easily find those documents later. It could be Excel sheets. It will be easier to import that data at some point if you lost it. So work safely, and I hope that this was helpful to you.